Okay, hi everyone. So we're carrying on with converting between fractions, decimals and percentages today. We're going to start off with a bit of a recap of what we did last lesson. So we were looking at converting between percentages and decimals last lesson. So there's a quick rule that we remembered. So going from percentage to decimal, we divide by 100. Going from decimal to percentage, we times by 100. So it's the opposite, depending on which way around you're going. So let's say we had 62%. As a decimal, we divide by 100. So we do 62 divided by 100, which gives us 0.62. Or we're moving the decimal place 2. So if there was a decimal here, 62.0, moving it 2 places to the left. So we end up with 0.62. So similar, going from a decimal to a percentage, so we've got 0.1. So this is the same as 0.10. So to get back, we're timesing by 100. So when we do that, we are moving the decimal place 2 to the right, so the other direction. So we end up with 10%. So that's the reminder of what we did last lesson. So here's some practice questions. If you want to have a go at these, you can do, just to recap from last lesson. I'll pop the answers up in a sec. So if you want to pause the video and have a go, you can do. If you're confident with it already, you don't need to though. So here's the answers. So check the ones you got. Some of the green ones are a bit harder. So if you didn't get them, don't worry too much. But you do need to be able to do definitely the red at least, and hopefully the yellow as well. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is how we convert percentages to fractions. And so on the Dr. Frost test today, this will be question 1 to question 6. Okay, so if we've got a percentage and we want to convert it to a fraction, so we saw already a percentage, that means out of 100. So a percentage tells us how many out of 100 we have. So the way we write that, so let's say we have our percentage, it's out of 100. So we're going to write it as whatever our percentage is, hundredths. So let's say we've got 20%. If we want to write that as a fraction, that would be 20 out of 100. So 20 hundredths. So it's important then, because this isn't in its simplest form, we would actually have to simplify this to get the full marks. So 20 out of 100, so 20 out of 100, they both have a common factor, and you can divide the top and the bottom by 20. Oh, sorry, they've divided by 10 on this, so we can divide the top and the bottom by 10, so we get 2 tenths. And then 2 and 10, they both can be divided by 2. So we can divide them both by 2 and get 1/5. So you can actually do that in one step, going from here all the way to here, by dividing by 20. So dividing this by 20, you get 5. So either way, you get the same answer. So to write a percentage as a fraction, you write it out of 100 and then simplify. So 20% would be 20 over 100, and then we simplify. So let's do another example. So if we've got 70%, so what that is, this is 70 out of 100. So we're going to write that as 70 hundredths. So 70 divided by 100, or 70 hundredths. So now, again, we don't forget to simplify. So we need to check, is there a number that we can divide 70 by and divide 100 by? So if we've got 70 hundredths, what can we divide 70 and 100 by? We can divide both by 10. So if we divide both by 10, we get 7 tenths. And we can't do anything else with this now. This isn't its simplest form. So we just leave it as that, because there's no numbers that we can divide 7 by and divide 10 by. So if you're feeling confident with it already, you could have a go at the Dr. Frost questions 1 to 6. But if you want to get a bit of practice before you go on to them, have a look at these ones and have a go at using the method that we've just done in the video. So start on the reds, they're a bit easier, yellows a bit harder, greens are the hardest ones. So a lot of them you will be able to simplify as well, so make sure you are simplifying your answers. And if you do get a different answer to what's about to pop up, maybe just check yours, check that you have fully simplified. Okay, so here's the answers. So yeah, all of these you've just written. So 25%, this first one, you'd write as 25 over 100, and then you simplified it out. And the same method for all of you, write it as whatever the percentage is over 100, and then see if you can simplify. Okay, so for part 2 of the video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going from fractions to decimals. So we already saw how to convert decimals and percentages, so if you can convert from a fraction to a decimal, you can then also convert it to a percentage. So this is the last one we need to be able to convert between the three. So this will be questions 6 to question 12 on Dr. Frost as well. So watch this section, then go have a go at those ones. Okay, so starting off with a fraction, and we're going to convert to a decimal. So basically when we're converting a fraction to a decimal, the process is just a division. All we do is we're dividing the numerator, which is the top of the fraction, by the denominator. And if you don't have a calculator, the best way to do that is with the bus stop method. So I'm going to go through how we do that as a reminder. And you'll most likely get a decimal answer, because that is what we're trying to convert to. We're trying to convert to decimal. So let's say we're doing 3/5. So what we need to do is we're going to divide the numerator, 3, by the denominator, 5. So we're going to do 3 divided by 5. So we write it out in this form. So the number we're dividing by goes on the outside, and the number we're dividing goes on the inside. So the first thing to do is look, how many times does 5 go into 3? Well, it goes in 0 times, so we write a 0 there. And then, because we've not used the 3 yet, we carry the 3 to the next one. So we carry it over to here, and we can see we start off, we had 3.0, that's just the same as 3. But we carry the 3 to after the decimal point. And if you look as well, I've lined up this decimal point with the one below. Okay, so now we look, how many times does 5 go into 30? Well, 5 goes into 30 6 times. So that means it goes in exactly as well, there's no leftover, so we don't carry anything. So our answer, fraction to decimal, is 0.6. So we do the division, 3 divided by 5, and we get an answer. So with these, I would recommend trying to do it at bus stop, but also checking your answer using a calculator just to check you are doing the division correct. And a really common mistake here would be to do 5 divided by 3 and think 5 is the bigger number, so I've got to do it like that. No, you always divide the top of the fraction by the bottom. Okay, let's do one last example before we get started on the task. So what we're going to do is one more fraction to decimal conversion. So the thing to remember, all we're doing is dividing the numerator, the top of the fraction, by the denominator. So let's do 1/8, or 1 over 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to be dividing 1 by 8. And because 1's smaller, we know that it's not going to divide straight easily. So we're going to start off, we're going to write 1.0. So we're going to need that for this next step. So let's do, oh, that should say 1 divided by 8. Didn't change the slides. 1 divided by 8. Okay, so let's have a look. So how many times does 8 go into 1? 0 times. And I'll put the decimal to make it line up. Because we've not used the 1, we're going to carry that 1 to there. So now we've got, how many times does 8 go into 10? Well, it goes in 1 time, but we have a remainder. It doesn't go in exactly. So we have a remainder, and that is going to be a remainder 2. So we're going to carry 2. We're going to add an extra 0 as well. So now we've got, how many times does 8 go into 20? Well, 8 goes into 20, so 8, 16, and then 24 is too big, so it goes in 2 times. And there is a remainder of 4. And again, we're going to put this extra 0 in. Okay, so this one it's going to go exactly. How many times does 8 go into 40? It goes in 5 times with no remainder. So 0.125 is our answer, and there's no remainder now, so we stop there. We don't need to carry on. So 0.125 would be our answer for there. So a little bit tougher because of all the extra steps with the division, but the maths, the idea is still the same. We're still just dividing 1 by 8. Okay, so here's a little bit of practice. So if you want to do these before you go on to the Dr. Frost task, you can do. If you're feeling confident with it though, you can go straight on to Dr. Frost. So this second section of the video, that'll apply to questions 7 to 12. And here's the answers to these ones as well. So feel free to email if you've got any questions or if you're having any issues with Dr. Frost. So yep, feel free to let me know and I should be able to help. So Gava got the Dr. Frost stuff. As I say, if you're having any issues with it, feel free to email.